Hello. Oh, it was amazing.
Hey, Mick, you wanted to look at the set list for tomorrow night?
Yeah. There's all this stuff in the paper about the review that the lighting's too dark and everything. Where's Patrick?
He's not. He's in London.
Oh, what's he doing in London?
The Monty Python, the show's at the O2.
Oh, yeah, Monty Python. Are they still going?
Yeah, they're doing 10 shows. Do you want to go?
10 shows? Wow, that's pretty amazing. It must be coin eating. I mean, I bet it's expensive. But, I mean, who wants to see that again, really? I mean, it was really funny in the 60s.
Well, the first show sold out in 40 seconds.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, still a bunch of wrinkly old men trying to relive their youth and make a load of money. I mean, the best one died years ago. Maybe back in the 70s, it was fantastic. I mean, it was the...
Hello, citizens of the internet. This is Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, whether you want to kill a cord or not, can watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on any device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and this episode is brought to you by Irony, courtesy of Mick Jagger calling Monty Python a bunch of wrinkly old men. How you doing, Tom?
I want to say lack of self-awareness, but I have a feeling he was fully aware of what he was doing.
That's clearly what it is, right? Very self-referential of them to do that. Dude, I am so incredibly excited about this episode. We got big news to talk about, but of course, first we got to welcome our special guest.
Yeah, he is the opposite of a wrinkly old man. Darren Kitchen from Hack 5 is on the show. A cord killer himself, right, Darren?
Yes, in fact, it has been almost 10 years. In fact,
10.
So yeah,
you were like cutting cords before cutting cords was cool, dude.
Like Darren wants to impress us. He's like, I'm not just a cord killer.
Wrong, but we can talk about that a little later. But I would love to get your perspective on the proper way to cut the cord, because I think I might have gone too far.
See, that's just it. Is I feel like you're going all the way to cord racist. We're not cord racists around here. It's fine. If you want to have a cord, that's fine. As long as you're watching what you want, when you want, on whatever damn device you please, then that's great.
Darren knows where all the cords are buried. All right, let's kick it off with our primary target. And of course, you all know it was coming last week. The Supreme Court of the United States, one of America's premier singing groups and justices, ruled 6-3 that Aereo is a public performance. Therefore, it should be judged as so, and they remanded the case back to the lower court with that guidance. That's what they were ruling on. They weren't ruling Aereo is illegal or not. They were saying, is it a public performance or not? And they said, yes, it is. Justice Breyer used this logic, Brian, to determine that Aereo was a public performance. It looks like a cable company to me.
I mean, that's the problem, right? It's the whole black box defense on this. The idea that because effectively it achieves the same thing as if somebody had cable, therefore it must pretty much be cable. It's a real bummer, man. It's a bummer I mean, judging from the reactions on most of the articles that I read, there was one saying that it's going to set us back a decade for TV innovation and all this stuff. Like, how I mean, is it safe to say that the Supreme Court just got it wrong? Like, you guys are wrong. You're wrong.
You can always say that when you disagree with their decision. But in this case particularly, I feel like the legal argument is wrong. Justice Breyer said, insofar as there are differences, those differences concern not the nature of the service that Aereo provides, so much as the technological manner in which it provides the service. Now, to me, that makes all the difference. Aereo's defense was, we're not a cable company because we're not rebroadcasting a transmission. We're giving people access to transmissions. And Breyer said, you know, you're doing these things with micro antenna behind the scenes, but honestly, you're just trying to get around the rules, young man. What you're doing acts like a cable company in every other respect, and therefore we're going to call it a cable company. And Justice Antonin Scalia, in the dissent, said that guilt by resemblance, which is what he called this, is not a good way to make law, and that this could have ill effects on other things because you've now set up a sort of, well, it doesn't matter how you're doing it.
Yeah.
So are you saying that it has nothing to do with how you're boning the cable companies? It has to do with the fact that you are boning the cable companies?
Yes, exactly. If in your guilt by resemblance then becomes cause by resemblance, you could definitely put it that way. But I mean, this is not just a defeat for Aereo that like, well, no, we're not gonna, the fact that you have individual antennas doesn't matter. We found this to be a public performance for this reason. It's just saying you can't get around it, because if you're taking broadcast signals and you're putting them over the internet to multiple people, then it's illegal. Doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if
they basically said that when Congress acted, this is what I don't like about it, and this gets into strict constructionist versus non-strict constructionist, but they said when Congress acted, there wasn't anything such as the internet. And what they were trying to prevent was people taking broadcast signals and giving them over cable. And what you're doing is what that law was intended to stop. So they went after the intentions, not the letter.
Well, it's funny to me how much of this entire case, and we've talked about this before, has to do with in many ways, little bits of semantics snowball downhill, right? And so the fact that from the beginning this was framed as though Aereo was trying to get away with something, as if they were trying to circumvent law, when the fact is what they were doing was complying with law, like to the letter of the law. Like, they built an entire business based on the fact that we want to comply with the way your crazy rules are set up. And then they're like, well, sure, you complied with all our crazy rules, but we all know it's because you want to provide a service and get paid for it. And he's like, yes, that's why I played by your stupid rules.
Well, to be fair, I feel like what they were saying was, okay, you went by the letter of the law, but the point of the law was to really stop you from doing this without paying the broadcast companies, and you were just trying to set up a business without paying what you're supposed to pay.
I recently just tried to do something like this in that same kind of context, Brian, seeing that I was flying my little, quadcopter drone, whatever you want to call it, at the park, and I was having a good time with it until the park ranger came by, and he's like, hey, kid, can't fly your drone here. Ordinance number 38 of the blah, 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 title section D says go D off. And I was like, all right, fine. And so then I looked it up, and it says that title 38 of the whatever says you can't fly your model aircraft from the park. And then that got me thinking. It's like, I got all these cool radios and UHF stuff, and I got a van, and I can park outside of the park, huh? And
Yeah,
I can
sure.
sit in the nice air conditioning of my nice van, and I can put on my headset, my little Oculus Rift thing, and I can fly my drone from the roof of my car all throughout your little park, right? Because I'm not in your park. I didn't fly it from your park. Now, I'm doing this full well knowing at any given moment I'm going to have a little knock, knock, knock on the side of my van from somebody who's going to be quite upset.
And so I assume that the way the story ends is that you had a delightful time flying your drone and everybody high-fived you afterward.
No. See, the thing is, it goes back to what Tom was just saying about the spirit of the law. And what boggles my mind as far as like all of the cool stuff that I set up with antenna tracking systems and UHF and all of these cool, radio technologies that enabled me to do this thing in essentially a Faraday cage, is that while technically cool, while innovative, right, the spirit of the law is thus that just like in the case of Aereo, while innovative and while empowering customers, it ultimately hurts the establishment, and that's against the law.
Well, and you know what? Antonin Scalia in the dissent almost made your argument, Darren. He said, I believe that Aereo is breaking the law, but and I believe it for these other reasons, but we haven't been asked to rule on those other reasons today. We were asked to rule on whether it's a public performance, and you're doing a little dance to kind of get out of the fact that you don't want to deal with it later, so you're just calling it a public performance. He said, and this is the analogy I loved, he said, it's as if a copy shop also was providing people with library cards. And you were saying, oh, aha, those people could do copyright infringement, so copy shops can't give people library cards. He's like, but they can. They can absolutely do that. If a copy shop, has an agreement with the library, obviously. But the copy shop can let people borrow books. Borrowing books is legal. And the copy shop can let people make copies. Copying is legal. The copy shop can't encourage people to make illegal copies, but you can't say the copy shop can't do it because they might.
Right. Real quick, we got a letter from Jeff from Maryland, who is a lawyer, who wrote us the moment he finished reading the brief. He says, just finished reading the Aereo Supreme Court decision and wanted to give you an opinion from a lawyer's perspective. I think Justice Scalia in his dissent correctly noted that we have some broad, unclear language in the Copyright Act. The majority bases its opinion in large part on the legislative history of the act, which is a matter of debate among lawyers. Some, like Scalia, look only at the language of the statute, while others look to the intent of the legislature to guide interpretation. At the end, Scalia argues that the majority is interpreting the act to mean, or to reach, quote, the right result. Scalia acknowledges that he doesn't think Aereo is necessarily above board, but he essentially tips his hat to Aereo for coming up with a clever workaround. Scalia argues that the decision should have been based on the language of the statute. If that result is unpopular, the Congress should be the one to resolve it, not the court. He says, I don't know if the decision will have broad consequences because the majority focused closely on the impacts regarding TV licensing, so the cloud may be safe. Things like Dish and Slingbox ... not so much. We'll have to wait and see, but this is definitely being a step away from being able to watch what you want, where you want. So appreciate the input, Jeff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Absolutely. And I am not always as strict of a constructionist as Antonin Scalia is. Justice Scalia sometimes rubs me the wrong way because he'll get very much like, no, it's not exactly in the law. And there are times when it makes common sense to go, come on, everybody reasonably knows that the law means that's not okay. I don't think this is one of those times. Well, and I think that's what Justice Scalia was pointing out is Aereo figured out a way that doesn't violate the law.
The good news, Tom, is that this is a decision that will only affect Aereo. There's no way this will bleed into other stories.
It's gonna impact my new business plan that I real quick wanted to run by you guys as experts of all things, because I feel like I'm actually worried about launching my new IPO and my .com and everything, because I got this brilliant idea based on this sort of thing, and that is, do you see this map? This is a fantastic map. You see those green parts right there?
Sure.
You can go all the way down to Springfield, Missouri. And you know what you'll find in Springfield, Missouri?
What?
You'll find
some of my relatives.
Gasoline. Gasoline for $3.25. You know what I'm paying here in California? It's crazy pants. So I got this idea. I got these fuel stations, right? I'm calling it FuelFi. Now, I don't want to get too much into the specifics of the technology because I'm still patent pending, but I have the ability where, by way of a dongle, because I understand, Brian, you are a huge fan of the dongles, you could, for instance, use my FuelFi dongle to plug into your gas tank and then choose from all of my fuel depot access points, all from anywhere in the United States, no matter what gas prices kind of meet your fancy. Now, not sure about the regulations on that, but would that not seem a little bit different or similar to, say, our friends over at Aereo who just found a technical solution that upsets the establishment?
Oh man, wow! This took me like I just did a loop-de-loop right here. All right, walk me through this. What you're saying is that you could have had a technical innovation that upset the current infrastructure for fuel sales.
I'm saying I've got the ability to beam petroleum over TCP IP. It's petroleum over IP, and I'm soon to patent it, and I think it'll bring the world together.
Although Aereo was geofenced.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually only going to let certain markets access each other artificially because of firewalls.
I actually think Aereo was even more legal than your FuelFi, because Aereo said these are people who could get the over-the-air signal anyway. We're keeping it in the market. We're just giving them access to an antenna with a long extension cord.
You're right. I should keep my Memphis market in my Memphis market. But the thing is, sometimes you're on the side of the road and you're like, man, why isn't my car working anymore? And then you realize that that's the same reason why the fuel light's on. You're like, are these interlinked? Do I need to do something other than call a tow truck? But if you've got my dongle, you're all set.
I'm not sure how this works. I'm hung up on fuel over TCP/IP.
Okay, well, forget what I'm saying is the technology is wonderful and could do amazing things. I'm sorry,
Darren. I just got a text message from Anton Scalia. He says that it's adorable that you found a workaround, but we all know what you're really up to. You're clearly stealing petrol.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, you know, the the fracking railroad industry would be, you know, fans of that, because they got to get all that oil into the cars and drive it down to the Chevron or whatever, the refinery, to get all refined and stuff. And so if I could just get it, you know, take out the middleman, of course, that would be upsetting the law, because
Is this
that
Synthahol
establishment is
Act
there
protocol that you're doing?
Yes, I'm going to go with yes.
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
What Brian was trying to do before your very interesting and illuminating metaphor was move us to the secondary target, because it bears exactly on what you're talking about, actually, Darren. Because one of the worries after the Supreme Court announcement was, well, wait a minute. People are going to take this decision and apply it to other things. Sure, maybe Justice Breyer is right. Maybe Aereo is just trying to get around the law. But what is the precedent going to mean? Fox has already introduced this decision in its dispute with Dish in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in Pasadena, which is having oral arguments on July 7th. Fox is suing Dish over two things. One is Dish Anywhere service, and the other is the Hopper DVR sideloading feature. Hopper DVR sideloading says, I'm going to take my DVR recordings and put them on my tablet so that I can watch them on my iPad. Dish Anywhere is essentially Slingbox. It says, I'm going to be able to access my Dish DVR over the internet and watch what I've recorded anywhere I want. In a letter to the court by lawyer Richard Stone, Fox said, Dish, which engages in virtually identical conduct to Aereo when it streams Fox's programming to Dish subscribers over the internet, albeit also in violation of an express contractual prohibition, has repeatedly raised the same defenses as Aereo, which have now been rejected by the Supreme Court.
First, they came for Aereo, and I said nothing because I was not an Aereo subscriber. Then they came for Dish, and I said nothing because I'm not subscribed to Dish. Look, man, I'll tell you what, this is that second string of problems. I mean, the fact that they could suddenly make trouble for what previously was fairly settled law, right? With the Slingbox technology, that was done. Like, you're okay with that,
yeah,
right?
Nobody was going after Slingbox because they said, well, look, the person in their house is using their own equipment to view the signal they've paid for, so you can't get involved there. But now what Fox is doing is saying, well, Justice Breyer said it doesn't matter what equipment you're using. If it looks like a cable company, then it is a cable company. And the intent of the law was to stop rebroadcast. So if somebody is re-streaming content to their mobile device, we explicitly have put in our contract that Dish doesn't have the right to do that unless they pay extra. And they're doing it. And that violates the law.
Man, I don't even know. I mean, first of all, have you been keeping up with all the Dish innovations, Darren? I'm using the word innovations.
No, I haven't, but I get where you're going with this. And I also should probably preface by saying that I wasn't bringing up FuelFi as a, like, it is apples, you know, it's not apples and apples, but it's just the whole idea of, like, you know, establishment versus innovation. And so
no,
what
I totally
hate
get
is
where
that,
you're going, Darren. I really, really could not get my mind off of, but how does the fuel get through the
Yeah, I know you can't. And I want to tell you about it, but it's patented, so we'll talk about
No, I
it
don't.
on another program. But, you know, okay, so what I see this is a huge, as consumers, we lose. However, I feel like in the spirit of the way the Aereo is operating, it just then becomes, okay, now how do we increase the innovation to have what we want?
So it's
and then they silenced Darren.
They did. They shut him down. That's how powerful this lobby is. Full disclosure, you know, cable provided by AT&T, a paid-for shill of the cable companies.
I think the issue here isn't even whether the Ninth Circuit rules for Fox or Dish, honestly. Hopefully that they ruled against Fox and say, no, this isn't the same thing as what Justice Breyer was saying, and so we have to evaluate it differently. But even if they don't, the fact that Fox so quickly brought this in is going to have a chilling effect on other innovations. Other people that want to do similar things to Slingbox are now going to have second thoughts. Venture capitalists who want to back things like Slingbox are now going to have second thoughts, and people are going to shy away from anything that does anything with a broadcast television signal.
This is the real bummer of this whole situation, is not the immediate effect. I mean, yes, of course, it's a big bummer for everyone who's an investor in Aereo. It's a bummer for Aereo employees themselves. It's a bummer for everyone in the short term, but the long-term effect of the chilling effect on innovation is slaying me here. I mean, it's like everything that we're excited about on this program, everything that we report as the latest new technological advance on bringing you, easy to view content on the device of your choosing. All of that takes a major step backwards when we've seen time and time again that broadcasters are willing to go to such lengths to shut that crap down.
Yeah,
Why do you
I feel
think
like
Sleekbox
this
doesn't have
law,
a ton of competitors?
I feel like you guys are there. Cool. All right. I just feel like this law kind of like, took what could have been an even playing field and made it like more slopish. And now the playing field's a little slippery, and we're going to see like bad things happen, which could potentially happen within an industry that I'm really concerned about, which is like I like to fly my model aircraft, and the FAA was just recently saying like, oh, a model aircraft is only one where you always have visual line of sight. And so a technological innovation that I like to use, where I put on my little VR goggles and I fly around from the perspective of the plane, could somehow become not cool or illegal, and I don't like that idea. And at the same time, it's like, well, actually, this gives us more opportunities to innovation. Maybe a picture-in-picture where I can see from the perspective of the plane, but still maintain that line of sight that's required. So I see this and I'm like, you know what, Aereo, these guys are innovative. When the last time they were like knocked down, they got up again. So now they're knocked down again, and it's like, okay, you guys are the ones coming up with cool technological innovations to bypass these artificial restrictions here. So it's time to innovate with distributed hash tables and Dogecoin. And we're not a company. It's like peer-to-peer. I don't know. Maybe
But
not.
I don't
Maybe
think there's
not.
anything Aereo can do with broadcast television except to pay a license. And I don't think that after all of this that the broadcast networks are going to give them any kind of deal that would make their business viable.
Oh, I actually do. And you and I we talked about this briefly on DTNS. I feel like the right play. I think first of all, the broadcasters are interested in winning long term, and the safest way for them to win long term is to now that they have conquered Aereo, to get Aereo to bend the knee and pledge fealty and be their vassal. And the way they do that is quietly, like, look, right now it looks like you're going out of business unless you play ball. Here's a acceptably low sweetheart deal for licenses to rebroadcast this stuff. You stay in business, and we make it clear that everyone has to play ball with us. That seems
because
like the winning
heaven
move.
forbid an Aereo competitor comes around and says, oh yeah, you guys are doing this well, we're going to do this even better.
Well, I mean, but the problem is I mean, that's why it's in the broadcaster's interest to offer a crappy olive branch to them.
I don't think the broadcasters and I think what you're saying does make an internal sense, and it makes some logic. I just don't think the broadcasters want to do it. I think the broadcasters want nothing to do with Aereo. They have no interest in giving them an olive branch because they have no interest in making their product available online over the internet. They're still in a rear guard action to force as many people to watch on cable and over the air as possible so they can keep those Nielsen ratings high, and they want to control their own streams. They don't want to have it shared with anybody else out there. That's why I don't think they'll go for Aereo. You may be right.
It's almost like they want to, you stifle innovation in the name of protecting the brand to a point where they're irrelevant. Huh?
Well, that's
Sure.
what they risk, right? Here's the thing, and I think this is where we all can agree, is that if the broadcasters do what Brian's saying, it will be a better thing. Like, make a deal with Aereo. Tell them, like, look, you don't even have to use micro antenna anymore. You could do this much cheaper, and we'll help get your business off the ground because we know that's the future, and we know that we're going to be able to rate through Nielsen, and this will prevent Hulu, Netflix, Yahoo Screen, all of these other folks from grabbing share from people because it's easier to watch their shows on the internet than it is to watch ours.
Well, yeah, that's why they should do it.
I know that's why they should do it. I don't believe they will, but I
what
think
is
that's
the
what
argument for why they shouldn't? Is this just purely a pleasing the shareholders?
I'm saying that's what they should do. I'm not saying I think they won't do that because they're worried if they do that it will erode the predominant audience, which is still on traditional cable right now.
And
Even though
will
I think that worry
probably
is
continue
stupid.
to for the next couple hundred years, so they don't really have anything to worry about on the innovation side of things,
I mean, but the industry itself isn't even 100 years old, so it's like it's hard for me to.
Oh, that was sarcasm.
Well, no. I know, but like it's important to remember how unfathomably young and revolutionary this what we grew up with is not predetermined to be the structure forever, and there's no reason that there can't be another revolution just around the corner. It seems like there's always a revolution right around the corner.
Yeah, no, it's more about we have the most of our money coming in this way, and we want to protect that way at all costs, even if it reduces our future viability, because the future hasn't come yet, and none of us are going to get fired for doing something that sacrifices the future, but we will get fired if we do something that sacrifices the now.
You know,
and we've seen that play out with the recording industry and now the television industry.
On that thought, Tom, as long as we're in the spirit of full disclosure as to where our money is coming from, you know where our money comes from?
Brian, we don't want to tell people that, do we?
No, dude, I'll tell the world. I'll tell everyone.
Wait,
right now.
is that a wise idea?
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell them right now. It's from the 1,883 individual donors who hit us up at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Truly independently funded, dude. We exist, we live and die at the pleasure of the people who enjoy what we do, and that allows us to say a lot of things that otherwise might not be smart to say. And I certainly have enjoyed the experience so far, and I can't thank those 1,883 people enough.
We've been getting more people writing in just with good comments or things about the show, and then they sign it, "Your boss." I love that.
Yeah, you are. You guys are all our boss.
Yeah.
We hear and obey. That's what we do.
All right, it's time for some signals intelligence.
Yeah, you know it is.
Signals intelligence, by the way, is a section of the show about signals that are intelligent. No, it's about streaming services.
They're intelligent.
It's about different ways to watch stuff over the internet. We don't talk. Usually, this ends up being about. This usually ends up being about Netflix, right? Not this time. Stevie is a video curation app.
That's the name of my TV.
Stevie is your TV?
You should watch
Stevie
Stevie
the
on your
TV.
Stevie then, because Stevie takes recommendations of video from your Facebook or Twitter friends and puts them into a channel that can just play, so you have a lean back experience of watching cool stuff, and it'll stream things from your feed, from your social network feed on the screen, similar to what MTV does, except it's your friends, right? So you actually care about the people that you're seeing on the screen.
Now I control my friends even more easily.
Well, actually, they control you because they're programming your channel.
This is one of those things where it's like when I first read this, I thought to myself, like, nobody wants an algorithm controlling their data, controlling their feed. What they want is a personality that they trust to feed them stuff. Now, the moment I thought that, I immediately also thought, I'm only saying that because I want to be that person, and that's what we do on Cordkillers, and that's what we do on Night Attack. The more I think about it, the more I think that this actually is the future. If you can have kind of a hyper-aware algorithm for that always on television, the problem is that structurally, all of these alternate analogs for the way we used to watch TV. We used to watch TV if you turned the TV on and you did dishes and you got the kids and you changed diaper, and the entire time the TV was just on. Nowadays, the idea that you have to launch an app and you go through all the ritual of an appointment viewing exercise only to have noise on in the background. I don't know that that's going to sell to anyone.
Well,
I don't think that
but
works.
Here, the news here, the reason Stevie's in the news is because they've added Chromecast functionality, so you can send it from the iPad to the Chromecast. It's not that many steps to just, like, once you've set it up, right? Launch the app, it starts playing, and then Chromecast. Still too many steps?
Yep.
All right.
It is. I mean, literally, it is. Like, if you want to make this work, what you need is imagine. You
need a Stevie channel on the Roku.
Yes. Something simple, like a channel that you just turn on.
Wait, are you saying that they've got their own hardware? No, that's crazy.
No, it's just an app on your tablet, and then you Chromecast it.
So,
Yeah.
but
So how is having a channel on the Roku different than that, though?
Here's
of the
what I
tablet
think
being involved?
it will take to be, and I'd be interested to hear Darren's take on this. I suspect in order for noise television to take off in this regard, you need just an extra step. Now, right now, it's like you log in and it processes your feed and it just delivers content that everyone else is talking about with any kind of context or direction or whatever. Imagine 2 or 3 years from now, when some version of Siri as a artificially intelligent DJ comes on, and all of a sudden it's running your feed, and it's just sort of you click one button, the television comes on, and it says, hey, most of your friends are talking about this video. Take a look. And then it comes back and it says just a sentence or two to set up each of these things. Or it's like, here's what so-and-so said about this.
So it's Pandora for video is what you're saying.
Yes. But with the addition of a fake DJ element to it, the false impression that there's an intelligence guiding you through all of this stuff, I think, is what would make that
So that has nothing
popular.
to do with the button clicks,
Yeah, I was
because
about to say,
that could
okay,
be
so
just
there's
as
two
easy
aspects
from
to
the
this.
phone.
No. Okay, but again, whatever. We talked about this last week, and a couple of people wrote in on it. Like, whatever reduces your obligations on everything, in everything whatsoever. If you could turn it on and just let it come in, then that's a huge advantage.
I guess what I'm saying is I feel like those are two different problems. Like, what you're describing is the problem with every single channel out there. It's not particular to Stevie.
Correct. What I'm saying is what I hear from Stevie and what I've read so far, and I could be totally wrong on this, does not quite satisfy what I believe is it's going to take in order to make this, replace that analog of the always-on noise television background.
Okay, so there's two aspects to this. The first of all is the ability to just like, look, I'm about to make myself some bacon wrapped bacon bits, and I want something on in the background while I make that. So I just like, previously in like old generations, you would grab the remote, the clicker as it were, and hit the on button and then choose the channel, and you remember that 2-digit number for some reason, and then boom, you're done, right? It was like 3 button presses. And so what right now I've got to like, okay, boom, HDMI 1, got the Chromecast, open my thing, unlock my phone, open the whatever it is, Chromecast to it, wait, hit the play button. All right, good to go. So that's one of the problems, and I agree that can be solved. That's like whether it's a Roku app or an Android TV app or whatever it may be. The other thing is what you're talking about is the difference between the feed from your friends versus the intelligence of your Pandora-like auto DJ. And I think what you just need to do is pick more intelligent friends. Problem solved.
Yeah, I mean. You could say that, but unfortunately, there's like weird socio-political aspects to who you friend and unfriend.
Like
for
why
whatever
I follow
reason.
you on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you there, because I think having played around with Stevie, I would get going and it'd be like, ooh, these are some really good videos, and then all of a sudden it'd be like a 30-minute video from somebody,
right?
And it was like some brand that I followed for some totally unrelated reason.
Filters. You get filters that say nothing more than 7 minutes.
I mean,
like,
this
boom,
is
done.
the thing. This is the thing. You are correct. We do need the filters in order to fix all of that. However, those filters cannot put the onus on us to manage our own filtering. Or let me put it this way. If they want to win a dominant market position, they will figure out a way to do it that doesn't involve me lifting a finger. They will figure out a way to do it.
And QPlay both provide curated lists that aren't based on your friends. You can put your fate in their hands.
Yes. Okay. I mean, maybe, but what they need to do is they need to create an experience where all throughout the setup and execution, I am given the opportunity to intervene and to shape my future. However, if I choose to do nothing, if I choose to do the default action by not pressing a button, it automatically brings me to a pleasant experience. That is how you win.
You want a I don't want to think mode.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Pandora.
Is that not the purpose of television? I do not want to think.
Boom! Yes, no, you nailed it. That's exactly it. That's everyone's
Honestly,
trying to make TV smart. TV needs to be dumber.
I don't think Chromecast has anything to do with this. I think right now I could launch Stevie on my phone, press Chromecast, it'll switch the TV, it'll start playing. That's almost easy enough. Maybe it could lose one step. But what Brian wants is Pandora for video. I think you're right. I think that's what QPlay and Stevie are missing is this. I don't want it curated by my friends. I want it to learn what I want.
Oh my gosh, I got it, right? So I'm Stevie, and I'm like, I noticed this, that like the consumers, they've got a lot of choice, which is cool, right? But it's like, there's a lot of complications, and you got to choose what to watch, and is it on this network or this app or that streaming service or whatever, right? And you're just like, listen, I want to make my bacon encrusted bacon bits, so I just kind of want something on in the background. So if I'm Stevie, I'm like, aha, I'm going after these smart TV guys, and I'm going to start marketing dumb TVs. And the way
Yes.
you do it is you set it up so that it's got like the minimal amount of buttons. I'd have an on and off button, volume up and down, that's kind of nice, and a channel up and down button, and that's it, right? Totally revolutionary. So you just turn it on, and whatever happens to be on,
Well, and that's
is
the
on.
thing, right? That's where we're all seeking the analog for what we already had back in
No,
the
don't
late
make it
80s,
analog.
early 90s.
Nobody likes that stuff. Like 480p at the very least. But
No,
come on.
but even analog. I mean, I'll actually be pro analog because I've talked about this on the show before. Like, I really missed the fact that you used to be able to change channels and instantly see content with no pre-buffering, no delay, just bip, 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 and you were looking at stuff as you flip through channels.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
that's a different problem as
we're,
well.
we're
That's a
getting
third
back to
problem.
that is my
Yeah.
point.
That's an entirely different problem from content curation or even the one button thing. But Pluto TV has a thing where you can, like, they have curated channels based on content, and you could just page up, page down, and flip through them. It still isn't going to be as instant though. People are circling around what we want here. I feel like.
Well, I think they're starting to understand that, and we're seeing it by like a negative space. We're seeing all these experiments that keep failing because they require us to do even a little thing. And they're starting to understand that the gap to success is that the consumer needs to do absolutely nothing. No training of your...
Don't even want to watch television.
Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much actually, right? Like, it's just like, look, whatever, man. We'll just have it be on, and you'll like it, and you'll trust it, and that's all that matters. I mean, to be honest, though, like, that's currently the gap that robots can't yet seem to do is handle that curation, which is why this program exists. This is why people pay out of pocket, to be our boss directly, is because, we act as a filter and hopefully people trust our opinions on a lot of stuff. But if you could make a robot that'll do our jobs, then jump at it, man.
Well, didn't 15 years ago TiVo do just this in that they gave us what we want, right? And it was like, oh, this is amazing. We couldn't stop talking about it. And it totally revolutionized our whole lives. And like, finally, I have everything I need. Except then that need kind of expanded because like, well, this is just like the de facto now, right? So yes, all of that you just said, but then don't expect it to be everything because then we'll just want more.
Because once
yes.
you get what you want, you realize there's something else you want.
Of course.
That's always true. That's just
I have no
human
problem
nature.
with this, for the record.
Let's gear up, because without the gear, we can't watch any of this stuff.
Yeah, and without up, we wouldn't know which way was up.
Been down so long, it looks like up to me, Brian.
Which way is up in space?
Android TV was announced at Google I/O this week. It was a software system, not a device. It'll be embedded into mostly smart TVs, although they're talking about some set-top boxes too. The difference between Android TV and Google TV, it will be much more widely compatible with chipsets, so it can be on a lot of different kinds of devices, and it's Android-based. Although Google TV it wasn't as Android-based, so it'll be easier for folks who make Android apps to port apps over to it. Also has Chromecast support, so it can work like a Chromecast. Anything that has Chromecast, you can send to a Google TV. TVs from Sony, Sharp, and TP Vision will have it. Those will be out soon. Also, some set-top boxes from folks like Asus will be coming as well.
So walk me through the most interesting feature of all this was what the ultrasonic pairing when you walk
Well,
in
that's
the room.
actually not Android TV. That's Chromecast. Although Android TV will be able to do it because it has Chromecast features. You can now not be on the same network as the Chromecast and still send things to Chromecast thanks to ultrasonic pairing. So I'm on my phone. I'm not hooked up to Wi-Fi. I'm just on the LTE network, right? And I'm in the room with my television, and I, on Chromecast, have set it up, and you have to opt into this, have set it up to pair with nearby devices. It'll magically do it, and the way it does it is it plays a tone, an ultrasonic tone on your TV speakers that only your dogs can hear and your phone, and then the phone hears that and says, oh, okay, that's that TV, and it connects to it over the internet.
Yeah, that's my daughter had a find the stick game. Like you had a magic wand and you hit a tiger trophy or something in different places, and it didn't work that great, but it was if it was set up not inside of a box or whatever, that you could use the stick and it would have signal strength pointing roughly which way the trophy was, so you could find the tiger trophy or whatever. I don't know. I don't know that I believe it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a novel solution. Maybe the rules are different because by its very nature, it'll be in a dongle that's relatively exposed behind most televisions or whatever. But I just feel like my experience with everything ultrasonic didn't go very well. They went worse than everything infrared related, because you remember you could transfer data between your PDA and your laptop over infrared. Ultrasonic seemed worse than infrared.
And you know, it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's exactly what I was going to mention. And there's a reason for this. Infrared, ultrasonic, sound waves. All of these are not one thing. They are not radio waves, which are mandated by the Aereo or regulated by the FCC, right? And this is why the less expensive RC cars and stuff like that always have those really crappy IR controllers. And why they are that much cheaper, though, is because they don't have to go through the FCC certification and stuff like that, but also because networking is hard. So this is really awesome. This is the kind of technology you use to jump an air gap. I love it. In fact, give just a moment.
Oh, stop that, Darren.
I just hacked so many Chromecasts. You have no idea. I've been working on that.
It's like freaking Aaron Paul on that Xbox
modulate for 1200 baud, but
all right.
More.
So tell me, Tom, what does your gut say about this? And I don't mean to overly harp on the the ultrasonic aspect of this, but like, do you feel like in some ways the fact that this is an open platform that is going to be built into televisions gets closer to something that you've been advocating for a long time, which is everything should just be built into the television? Do you feel like this gets?
You're
us
talking
there?
about Android TV, not Chromecast.
Correct.
Okay. Android TV, I think, is a smarter move than Google TV was. They're saying we need to make it compatible so people can build it into whatever they want. And they realize that being the operating system on the television might end up being a lucrative thing in the future. And the idea that, oh, I bought a television that, like my phone, can constantly be updated with new things over time will be appealing to folks. I've always maintained that the television could have software running on it. It didn't have to be. The set-top box wouldn't necessarily be preferable for it. But personally, I actually prefer the set-top box because that's separated. I just think that it's... I've just always played devil's advocate that, yeah, you know what? Your television processor can be updated over time.
Yeah. Here's what I like about this, and this is the big win that I think could happen, is if, and I assume from everything I've read about it, I might be wrong about this, but Android TV, if it was, let's say, starting today, was built into every single television, it would, even as those televisions age and their computing power becomes laughable, it would have the ability to take commands and send them upstream to be processed with cloud computing and then stream back, right? Like as we offload the actual computing to more powerful computers, it seems like it's a good idea for everything to have this, right?
Yeah, it's almost as if you'd be able to, like, not just stream the video content, but for instance, as you were saying, like if it's an underlying OS that it allows you a lot of input and output and stuff, that you'd be able to do gaming without needing an additional piece of hardware because it'd just be streamed.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, possibly.
I like that. And for me as a developer, I'm like, you know,
I want sort of situation, on live kind of situation for sure. Yeah.
I look at this from a developer's perspective, and that's where you're really going to make a lot of inroads, is because if you can be like developer friendly, you can get enough people making things that use it, and then suddenly it becomes ubiquitous. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I've got this great take on a set-top box TV thing. And I'm going to do gaming in some new novel way. You're going to shake your fist at the TV or something. I don't know. And so fisting TV is going to require a totally different, like, I don't want to build a new operating system. I'm going to use something off the shelf. And since, you know, Google has a good track record with Android, I'm just going to use that. And that's why it's going to make so many inroads.
Well, and this is my biggest gripe, and we're getting a little bit off topic here, but it's like my biggest concern with any kind of smart television is that you know, you buy televisions in 7-year cycles, whereas, you know, your set-top boxes you buy every other year or whatever. If there's something built in that could eventually move to cloud-based computing, I think will make it a lot easier for people to buy that up.
Well, it's all cloud-based, right? I mean, think about it. All the apps on a freaking Samsung right now are cloud-based. You don't store the downloads on your television. You stream Hulu, you stream Netflix. So it's been that way. The problem has been that the operating systems have been crappy. They've been shoddy. The problem hasn't been the hardware. The problem has been the software. And so Android getting in and saying, here, let's take care of that for you, I think is really smart for Google.
I mean, I disagree with you because, like, when you are waving your arm around like an idiot and you see the super slow 10 frames per second animation of the hand moving around, that's because it's taking all the UI elements and it's rendering those locally. Unlike the Samsung television, the smart TV or whatever, when it's built into the television for the previous incarnations that I hate.
What do you wave around on the Samsung television?
Wait, you haven't seen that ad a million times over of Justine waving her hand over like a Connect interface to grab, to go to YouTube on her television for Samsung? You haven't seen that?
Well, that's just a stupid interface. Android's not going to bother.
That's my point. That's my point. Is once we get to the point,
that's the operating system.
Exactly. But my point is as much as you can get off of the television, you should even that stuff should be passed
I'll
up
say
to the
that
cloud.
I don't even care. I forgot about that because it's such a gimmick anyway. It's like a typical. It's like the gimmicks that Samsung puts on phones. Sometimes you just kind of forget about them. They're irrelevant. What you want to do is actually be able to watch things, and that's what Android's big advantage is going to be. Is we'll have lots of apps, and those apps will work.
Brian wasn't talking about the aspect of the hand waving thing as much as the terrible frame rate, as if its graphics processor was running a Dorito.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
But
yes,
is that true of Netflix?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't done Netflix
that's what
on
people
that.
want to do on the television.
My point is that whatever platform is going to do well has to have a back end to where it offloads everything to the cloud. Like no UI elements are rendered locally. Nothing about it is actually
that's just silly.
Done on there. You say it's silly. I say it's
you
the
can
future,
do UI elements on the front.
Yes,
you're
can.
taking the most gimmicky, stupid thing Samsung do, and you're throwing the baby out.
No. I am taking the one part that you actually touch of the experience, the one part that should matter the most. This is why Apple does well, is because they understand that there's only one part that you touch. Like when you get when
Apple doesn't put their UI in the cloud, though.
No, I know. Well, not yet. You wait. My point is that future-proof everything that people touch, future-proof everything that people see. Figure out a way to make it possible that everything just gets better and better, even though your equipment
I think you're
stays
just
the
going
same.
too far. I agree with you, future-proof everything. And I think that's what Android TV is about, is saying, look, you'll be able to run stuff on this for a long time. We can support this operating system for a lot longer. It's solid. It's got solid underpinnings. You've got enough processors in modern TVs to be able to handle a few UI elements. You don't need to put those in the cloud. But my point was, so much of the stuff that's important is already in the cloud anyway. So the gaming thing is interesting because that's more intensive. But your modern television hardware should easily be able to handle streaming things from the cloud through apps.
Yeah, I'm just saying, also tie it in with a cloud storage facility in Utah and get a government agencies to subsidize the hardware, because it should all go through there
And
anyway.
for God's sake, let this man fly his drone in your public parks. Is that too much to ask?
FAA. FA, I say.
I was talking about the NSA, but sure, them too. All the agencies.
You know what? What will solve all of this for everyone is a new PC.
Oh my God! You know what? You're right. You don't need to upload a bunch of these things to the cloud as long as you got decent power. And when it comes to power, there's only one company we trust, Tom. That's our friends over at Doghouse Systems. If you go to doghousesystems.com, you can check out the Armor TL class. That's what we have. We have 3 PCs running this whole operation here. 2 of them are Armor class PCs. I absolutely love them. They look like they belong on the set of Portal 2. They look amazing. You could get the exact box that we have here, or you could get one modeled off of the switching PC called the Max Troll Box. But if you use promo code Cordkillers at checkout, then you'll get double your memory for freezies, and you'll be helping out the folks who provide the hardware for our little show.
Guess what, Brian?
What?
I had a story in here about how Hulu passed on Community, and that was it. We were never going to watch Community again. Oh. And then, I got a text message from Jenny Josephson, the producer of Daily Tech News Show, less than a half hour before showtime, saying, guess who just saved Community? Yahoo.
Wait, hold on. I was going to say let's find out in Under Surveillance, but then you said Yahoo, and you sort of... Yeah. Oh, wait, no, good. There's the intro. Under Surveillance. Hey, who was it, Tom? Was it Yahoo?
It was Yahoo.
Okay, spoiler alert.
A 6th season of Community with 13 episodes. Dan Harmon said in a statement, I look forward to bringing our beloved NBC sitcom to a larger audience by moving it online.
There was another quote that just slayed me. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, shoot. You're going to have to give me a second on there.
Yeah, well, we are. It doesn't look like we're getting Donald Glover back. If Community hardcore fans are worried, there's no mention of that. Darren, are you a Community fan? Have you watched it? Do you not know? Where do you stand on this?
I'm culturally impaired, Tom. I cut the cord 10 years ago, and I haven't seen anything from mainstream media since. So I have no.
Well, you could be a
clue
cord
what that
cutter and
is.
watch Community on Netflix. Like, you wouldn't need to be in the mainstream.
No, I cut the cord a little too. I might have cut the Ethernet cord.
I don't even get the internet, guys. I don't even know how you're streaming.
No. Well, I don't get the internet in a different way, but that's neither here nor there.
Nobody does,
No, I don't know what Community is. I haven't watched it. In fact, I only just recently found out that Game of Thrones isn't on PlayStation 4. So that kind of gives you a little idea of where I am right now.
Community is one of the funniest shows created. It has some amazing episodes, and it's got a very devoted following, but its following generally has watched it online or on DVR, and so it has never built up the big ratings to keep it on the air.
Quote, I look forward to bringing our beloved NBC sitcom to a larger audience by moving it online, Harmon said in a statement. Quote, I vow to dominate our new competition. Rest easy, Big Bang Theory. Look out, Bang Bus. Yeah, many of you guys listening know that I'm... perversely, I am a tremendous fan of Dan Harmon, the creator and the individual, and a big fan of his podcast Harmontown. Although I've only maybe watched 2 episodes of Community, I'm excited, strangely, mainly to hear about him talk about it on Harmontown, because I find that the most interesting thing about what he does.
The key here, the key part of this story to me, is that Yahoo waded in at the last second. Because our story was that Hulu was negotiating for Community. They decided to pass. Sony, which had all the actors under rights until like today, was not going to be able to make another season. And it would have taken a lot of renegotiation for anybody to make another season, because you had to get all the contracts back in place. So Yahoo waiting at the last second and saying, oh yeah, we'll sign a deal, is huge for Yahoo. It makes people suddenly decide, I guess I'm going to use Yahoo Screen because I want to see these episodes.
Can I tell you what this feels like to me? This kind of story, and on the one hand, like, you know, good for Dan Harmon, good for Community fans, good for all that stuff, good for Yahoo. However, it is a last place online network that they just signed this deal with. And it reminds me of the kind of stories we would kind of sneeringly talk about with Amazon Prime 3 years ago. And now Yahoo's in that spot. And Hulu is just dropping off the map. I think that if Yahoo keeps doing this, a year from now, Hulu could be the number 4 most popular online network. And instead it could be Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Yahoo.
I think you're right. I mean, this is the kind of thing that launches Yahoo into the mainstream, because on the internet, it doesn't actually matter if you are the number 4 network. It matters that you have the content, right? There's at least for this kind of stuff.
It matters that you're profitable, right? Like that you bought it at the right price.
That you're not going out of business.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Yahoo might be a problem there. I don't know.
Right on, man. Congratulations to Dan Harmon. Congratulations to Yahoo.
Let's move on to the front lines.
No, wait, yes.
Front lines.
Front lines is where we take 60 seconds per story and get to some of the other things that are out there that otherwise we might not have time to talk about. And I will start us off. Film On has announced a new service to pay to watch broadcast channels on computers and mobile devices. Alki David claims Film On is now a cable company, and he is willing to pay fair royalties for rebroadcasting channels. It also uses teleporter technology to watch TV through a mini computer screen in New York so that you can see New York TV no matter where in the world you are.
I loved everything you said except for, like, there was one phrase. It started with Alk and it ended with E.
David?
Yeah, this is the guy. He's like the clown prince of the online content world, right?
Yeah, he's the guy who created Barry Driller, which was an Aereo knockoff that was ruled illegal in the Western District.
What's he going for here? Is this whole thing
He's
like
tweaking the broadcast networks again? He's like, you won in court? Oh, okay, come after me on this then.
I don't know, man. It's like
I
I appreciate that
teleporter
he's
thing.
trying to play with them, but I don't know.
He's trolling them.
Yes, he is. Hey, man, LG has opened its smart TV platform to developers. LG has built their platform on WebOS, which is open sourced, and other TV manufacturers can use it. Will they? Do we even care? Darren, talk to us about WebOS. Have you seen a blossoming now that that's an open source platform?
The Webos is a thing?
The Weebos.
The Weebos. I have not seen the Weebos. Bring me more Weebos.
Con carne?
I honestly don't see this being a thing, but sure. Anyway, whatever. Shoehorn it into whatever you can. I say bring the thing into year 2015, kicking and screaming. I'm still alive, just like Gladys. Make it happen.
Totally pro
This
Weebos.
is LG taking on Android TV by saying, instead of being Google lockdown, it's open source. So it should be easy to develop for us, too.
I feel like Webos should stay around for whenever there's anything new. They should say, yeah, but there's a Webos version. It's like Doom. Just won't go away.
Right on,
you can
man.
run it on everything.
More people watched the World Cup match between Germany and the USA on Thursday on Watch ESPN. That's the online version of ESPN. Then watched the Super Bowl online.
What?
1.7 million concurrent viewers in the second half of the show. The game. There were some authentication issues in the first half, too.
So this is, first of all, to be clear, this doesn't mean that more people watched the World Cup game online than watched the Super Bowl. Super Bowl traditionally pulls in 70 to 100 million people. This is the highest online concurrently watched program.
More watched the World Cup online than watched the Super Bowl online.
Yeah.
To which Fox responded, we didn't do it on mobile, and Watch ESPN did, so there.
Well, all right, well, whatever. You don't need to be a baby, Fox. I think part of that speaks to the fact that it's a more international audience that would be in a position to try to find workarounds for this kind of stuff, right?
Well, that, and it was during the day, so it was a U.S. match, the international.
Yeah, right on. Knights of Sidonia comes to Netflix July 4th. The series is based on a manga about genetically altered mech pilots fighting shape-shifting aliens. I said all of those sentences exactly as you heard them. It originally aired in Japan earlier this year, but all 12 episodes of season 1 are set to hit Netflix everywhere. I got to tell you, man, it's spelled differently, but I saw the phrase Knights of Sidonia, and I immediately thought of the amazingly epic Muse video, but I guess this is even more epic. Have you taken a look at this, Tom?
The Muse video?
No, this right here.
I took a look at the trailer, and the trailer's in Japanese, but it still looked really cool, and it looked like the kind of thing that if you're a fan of anime, you're probably going to want to at least check out and sample.
I absolutely adore that my kids are growing up in a world that is so much more multicultural. Like the entire understanding so many different societies is really just a click
It's Netflix
away.
getting into anime, too.
Yeah. No,
That's a big
taking on
deal.
Crunchyroll, right? Because Crunchyroll's been a
Netflix has a
dominant
ton
force.
of anime. Apple TV got a bunch of new apps, PBS Kids, Willow TV, AOL On, and ABC News. I think that's the big one. This gives Apple TV 2 sources of live news content. They already had Sky News, which is in the UK, and now they have a domestic, for U.S. listeners, news source, ABC News. You can now turn it on and just watch news any time of day.
Dude, this is more that turn on the noise app, and in that regard, I think they're going to do really well. Where do you get your news from, Darren?
I watch a Daily Tech News show. It's a little known podcast. Most people haven't really heard of it, but I try to stay cutting edge.
That's good. Smart man.
You need an edge that's quite cuttable if there's chords in your life, and so that's why I bring it.
Point.
Where do you get your news, Brian?
Google News. Like I just set my homepage to Google News, and
I pretty much read the BBC News app in the morning, and then I just sort of run across stuff.
What I like about everybody takes a dump on the Google News, but what I like about it is that it's algorithm fed, so it forces me to read stories that I normally wouldn't come across. Hey man, HBO is letting non-subscribers, that's me and my kind, to stream the first episode of The Leftovers through Yahoo Screen. I did not watch it through this service, but I did watch the first episode of The Leftovers, and spoiler alert, I rather liked it. Are you gonna
hello?
Are you gonna jump in? I know that it's easy to dig on Damon Lindelof for various
No, actually, I really
reasons.
like Damon Lindelof. I am one of those people who actually did enjoy the ending of Lost. I am not one of the people who thought he did a great job with Prometheus. But I do think that what he does is very like into spirituality, and so the Leftovers seems like the perfect arena for him to tell stories.
I really we'll talk about it more when we talk about what's on our radar. But I'm with you. I was not a fan of Prometheus. Was a fan of Lost, even the ending of Lost. But definitely, I would recommend everybody at least watch the first episode because it felt like a movie. It felt
All right, I'm gonna watch it. Time to check in on the summer movie draft.
Oof.
So, Brian, is it fair to call this a 3-horse race?
No, I mean, yes, I'm out. Justin and I are screwed. Transformers only, I'm using air quotes here, only pulled in $100 million. It was not the runaway blockbuster that we needed it to be, and I am not optimistic that we have much of a chance here. It's pretty much the Team The Morning Stream at $513 million, Team DTNS at $480 million, Team Amtrekker at 472, and meanwhile we're looking at Amtrekker. To be honest, I've never felt more optimistic about Amtrekker's chances than right now, because we're looking at Dawn of the Planet of the Apes coming out next week, and I think that will be the runaway success that we're hoping for from Transformers.
We'll find out in 2 weeks who's going to win this. That's my feeling, because we have Tammy for Team DTNS coming out this week. It's a comedy. It's got Melissa McCarthy. It's going to do well. We don't need it to do super well, but we need it to do well enough to keep us in the race, because if you look at Amtrekker, they're at 472, we're at 480. And so Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has got to basically make less money than Tammy and Sex Tape for us to have any possible chance. And then Team TMS has Get On Up and Planes, Fire, and Rescue. I feel like those are not going to amount to the same as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Agreed.
And that pretty much leaves it. I mean, Slash Film could pull off a come-from-behind victory if Hercules and Guardians of the Galaxy both do really well.
Well, and that's the thing, is they both have to do extraordinarily well. Like, they're right now at $200 million. If Hercules does 150 and Guardians of the Galaxy does 150, even then, I don't think that really puts them in winning position. That only gets them up to 500 million, right?
No, they both have to do 200 for them to even have a
that's
shot.
crazy. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'll tell you what, my money's on Team Amtrekker, possibly TMS. I don't know that I'd put my money on your team, Tom. Sorry.
Oh, I would put my money on my team. I mean, obviously, I put my money on my team because I'm on it. But I would put my money on Team DTNS before Team TMS because we're almost at the same point with them. And we have two solid mid-range. Planes, Fire, and Rescue, I'll be surprised if that makes 30 million.
Weirdly, I think your situation all comes down to Sex Tape. I think Sex Tape. Now, this has been a very good summer for comedies, so I assume Sex Tape is a comedy.
Yes,
either that or it's hardcore pornography in our theaters.
It is comedic hardcore pornography.
Right on. Anyway, we'll see how all this comes out. Lamentations. Send your flowers to Brian and Justin.
Time for On Screen.
Yeah.
These are the things that we are watching on our screens.
Yeah.
Now, Darren, I know you don't watch a lot of things on your screens. What is there any kind of video entertainments that you've notably viewed recently?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I mean, like I said earlier, I am culturally impaired in that I cut the cord a little bit too close or whatever. And so I kind of like my fallback for noise is just throwing on old episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation when in fact I don't want to think. But the norm is that I do want to think, which is why when I have in the past watched things, it's been like, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica or other stuff like that. In fact, I think that is in fact the last television series I watched. Not on television, on BitTorrent, but regardless. The things that I do watch most nowadays are these fantastic videos from Team Black Sheep. These are epic. I can't begin to tell you how inspiring they are. So these guys fly drones all around the world and get gorgeous shots from perspectives that you would never be able to experience otherwise. And it's truly an amazing experience because you're able to feel like you're in a place, and since there's not a whole lot of talking or anything else like that, you're free to imagine and wonder and not be, fed any sort of thoughts, which is great because at the end of the day, I still want to think. Oh, that looks a little weird.
Dude,
I wonder
Darren,
what's wrong with that. Whoa.
You got heavy duty. You got drone fever, man. I just talked to your doctor. Just called me and he said you need some, I don't know, drone juice stat.
Well, okay. Actually, here's the thing. At least maybe this will be gone here real soon. These Team Black Sheep guys obviously make a little bit of money by putting their videos up on YouTube and making some, a little bit of change here and there on that. But if this FAA thing where they say like, oh, you can't monetize model aircraft, then technically they'd be illegal and maybe even pulled down. So
wait. So real quick, because that's a bit outside of our field of expertise. Is that something that we're looking at? Because I know recently, like, there's a company in Russia that announced that they were delivering pizzas by way of drones.
Nah, actually, this is totally not going to happen to these guys because they're from Sweden, and every time the FAA like tries to sue them or stuff, this guy is just like, yeah, and it's so amazing. Yeah, no worries. These guys will be around for a long time, bringing us quality entertainment from the skies. Team Black Sheep, Google it.
Right on. What about you, Tom? What are you watching?
Well, obviously The Shield, Orange is the New Black, and Silicon Valley. We will touch on those in spoiler in time. I caught a couple of episodes of Bob's Burgers on Netflix. I've sampled it over the years, but I've never really watched it. So I've just been kind of enjoying a little bit of Archer's voice in an entirely different character.
It's smarter than you expect it to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Definitely. I love the episode where he's caught in the wall. That was one I watched this week. And then I started watching Rome because, all the HBO stuff came to Amazon Prime. And I was like, oh, Rome got like suggested, and I got sucked in. That is I had heard it's an amazing show. It is incredible. It is the story of Julius Caesar, the Julius Caesar that you know from the Shakespeare play, possibly, told in Game of Thrones-like detail. So, and you'll see a lot of Game of Thrones actors in it too.
And it's amazing because I remember that when news came out that HBO was going to do Game of Thrones, my brother was deep into watching Rome with my dad, and they were just like, you don't understand, like based on what we're seeing on Rome, Game of Thrones is going to be like a freaking thing. So that's awesome to hear that it really was that good.
How about yourself?
Of course, we'll talk about Orange is the New Black, Silicon Valley. My kids have started watching The Brack Show, starring Brack on Adult Swim, which I couldn't. I mean, it's been like over a decade since I watched all those when they were on primetime. But most of the episodes are available at the Adult Swim website, and it's not that there's anything inappropriate for kids. It's just that they go so heavily into the absurdist territory, unrepentantly. And so it's been fun to watch them experience all of that, Brack doing a rap battle or whatever, and Thundercleese rapping about how war is good for him and so on. Anyways, that's been an absolute delight to re-experience all of those. The Legend of Korra is back with the third season. I mentioned earlier that the second season was not my favorite because they got into too much magic-y stuff. Love what they're doing with the third season. The third season, they're kind of back to their roots. It's very practical, very concrete. The problem, I'm using air quotes there, is that all of a sudden tons of people are suddenly developing the power of airbending, and these people have to go and figure out how to recruit them to rebuild the airbending nation. And they've set up an amazing storyline with the bad guys, and they're doing like some really cool ideas. Minor spoilers about to happen. As there's a set of bad guys, there's one big bad guy who never had any kind of bending ability, but suddenly gets the ability to airbend, busts out of prison, and you see him go to a ship that's all wood in the middle of the water. And he flings some rocks down, kind of like Magneto inside his prison, where it's like somebody's so good at earthbending that this is where they have to imprison him, is where he's surrounded by water. And then likewise, they go into the center of I don't know, they go into a deep hole and get some water to a chick who had her arms cut off. Like, she was such a bad villain of waterbending that they cut off her arms to try to stop, but then she just makes water arms out of it. It's really a lot of fun. Very excited about it. So there's that.
Excellent. Let us now get some dispatches from the front.
Yeah.
We're running a little long today, so Brian, I'm going to jump right down to the last one, and then if you want to pick one of the other ones, that's cool too.
Sure.
Aaron wrote in and said he was listening to episode 25 and your conversation about Netflix picking up a live-ish show and the suggestion that they could recommend clips from a show based on what your tastes are. We were talking about the Chelsea Handler late-night talk show that they're going to have in 2016. What Aaron said is, what I got from that conversation was this crazy idea. What if Netflix is using their recommendation engine to figure out what original programming to produce? Well, Aaron, they actually are. They admitted that. But okay. It would likely require some additional research, but I am suddenly in love with the idea of Netflix taking recommendations up a level by not only suggesting you should watch in their catalog or what they should buy, but also generating original content based on what a sizable portion of their customers would be interested in watching. For instance, hey, it looks like a lot of people are really liking sci-fi and horror. At that same segment ties into romantic comedy. We can make a romantic comedy sci-fi horror show. This is undoubtedly how Orphan Black was conceived, pun intended. So that's not a great example, but hopefully you'll get the idea. A large enough sample with enough defining data could provide the keys to make a show for your audience instead of hoping an audience will find your show. Aaron, that's exactly what Netflix says they are doing.
Yeah.
In fact, when people go to Netflix and say, why aren't you releasing viewer numbers and data about how many people are watching a show? Netflix says, because that's not how we determine success. Way we determine success is, are the people who we thought were going to watch the show streaming it? We don't care how many of them there are.
Correct. And specifically, we've already covered in the past how companies like the Asylum, the low budget franchise that makes, Sharknado and that kind of stuff, how they have thrived on the fact that they essentially exploit gaps. Once somebody watches Battlestar Galactica, they need something else to click on after it. And so, usually it's a very low budget, crappy sci-fi original that they throw in there as well. So, yes, what you described is exactly what all they're doing. Everybody, including Netflix, plays the game of life as if they're sitting down playing Hollywood Tycoon on an iPad somewhere. They're not doing it based on what's a good story. They're doing it based on the numbers say this will be profitable.
What's the horror? Hemlock Grove.
Yeah.
Hemlock Grove is a prime example where they said, we see people do, they did what you said, Aaron. They said, we see people watching these kinds of shows in large numbers, so let's make one of those kinds of shows. And they made Hemlock Grove, and a lot of people are like, that show's awful. It's because they don't like that kind of show.
Correct. Eric writes in and says, as Cordkiller of the last year, thanks to you guys, I want to watch your shows, what I want, when I want, on my Roku 3, any device I want. Any plans for a DiamondClub.tv app on the Roku? That might make me a patron supporter if you did. Well, first of all, we'd be thrilled if you became a patron regardless. But as I understand it, we're already talking about that stuff. We are getting settled in. Some of the folks who watch live are watching on a new Meta CDN account that we were able to spend some show funds to provide, and we hope that's coming soon. We'll keep you posted.
All right. Well, that is it. Darren Kitchen, thank you so much for hanging out, man.
Uh-oh. He's silent.
No.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
No, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
HAK5.org should also be on your weekly watching list. Hack 5 is a fantastic show where you can actually learn about all this stuff about, the FAA and drones, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff. What do you got coming this week?
Yeah, we just finalized a build of an open source drone. It's totally autonomous and awesome, and so you can send it to go and drop water balloons on your neighbors. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Within the boundaries of the strict constructionist law interpretation, right?
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course, Tom.
HAK5.org. You can email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. We're available all the time at cordkillers.com if you miss us. And then you can catch us live on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Although, programming note, those times are going to change around for a couple months here. In fact, next week, I think we're going to be later on Monday, and then we're going to be on Sundays for a few weeks, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's that all has to do with my LA vacation. You and I've decided it's important that I become your neighbor. So I'm going to live 2 miles away from you for a couple of months, and we might be able to work it out to where I'm there in studio with you. We'll set up a couple of cameras, figure out how to make this work. But pay attention to, of course, our Twitter feeds, and just listen to the show for updates.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.